WSTU, it is 9:06, and it is time for the forum here with your host, Pat Sacco.
Thank you, Mike.
Morning, Pat.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. Are you ready for more rain?
It's already raining out there right now.
Yeah, well, finally we're there where this swath is going to come through and get out of here.
Yeah, well, we got to get through the weekend first.
Through the weekend, and after that, in fact, I think the ground has absorbed all this water. It really has.
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
The drainage has been fantastic. In fact, up where I live, they did those drainage ponds. I don't know how many, $32 million or whatever, and they work like a charm. Right at Harbor Place, or Jensen Road and Leonard Road used to be a flood of at least up to your waist.
Right.
Now there's no water. We used to get flooded on a street called Blossom Road, a little tiny Blossom Road that was almost up to your waist. That's all gone now because everything drains now down around into those retention ponds. What a great idea that was to cut back on flooding. And more communities ought to look at those kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it's a natural way to regulate the water. Terrific. Anyway, I want to say good morning to several of my people who are still angry with me because we stopped our bingo for the summer. And we're going to talk about that later, too. And they were mad because we had to stop it because some of my workers went up north. So we won't kick back until October. But yet they follow me, and I still say good morning to Kay and Sheila and Betty and Maggie and Pat and Sandy and who else am I missing? Dorothy. Yeah, those are the kind of regular bingo regulars. And I have to wave to Sheila, just gently. Because one day I went like this, and she said, no, just do it easy. So I do it easy. And then there are other people, Cindy and CJ and Adrian, of course, Adrian. Yo, Adrian. So anyway, here we are, and I'm with a wonderful guest. But before I introduce my guest, I want to read something. I've talked with several people about this. Whenever someone has a pet that passes away, we send this little statement. It's called the Rainbow Bridge. And you can get this online. You can go to YouTube, or you can just go into Google and type in Rainbow Bridge, and the thing will come up. Let me read it. I don't know, put my glasses on so I can see what's going on. Oh, my God, you look like that? Wow. All right. Just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all of our special friends so they can run and play together. There's plenty of food, water, and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. Why do they go to the meadow? Why don't they just go into heaven? They can't go into heaven because they have to wait for their master. They need to be carried across the bridge, and until the master shows up, they can't go into heaven. All the animals who had been ill and old are restored to health and vigor. Those who were hurt or maimed are made whole and strong again, just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times go by. The animals are happy and content, except for one small thing. They each miss someone very special to them who had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance. I'm getting chills now. His bright eyes are intent, his eager body quivers. Suddenly he begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass. His legs carry him faster and faster. You have been spotted, and when you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. The happy kisses rain upon your face, your hands again caress the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your pet, so long gone from your life but never absent from your heart. Then you cross Rainbow Bridge together.
I love that.
Wow.
Love that.
And it's a great comfort. I have a German Shepherd up there waiting for me. Her name is Bruni, one of the most fabulous animals I've ever met in my life. And she's up there. You know, we'll take the little. I don't think I can carry her into heaven. I think I'll kind of walk with her because she's big. But, you know, everybody has a special pet. If you say, which one was, oh, right, bang, there it is. But my question is, what happens? Let's say you've had 50 pets in your life. Do you get bombarded when you hit the meadow?
I sure hope so.
With all these animals.
I'm counting on it.
You're gonna herd them over the bridge. You're gonna say to everybody, "Stop! You can't go over the bridge. I got to get all these animals over there first."
Going together. We're all going together.
Well, I would like to introduce one of my dearest friends, Alicia Dykeman.
Good morning.
And
Good morning.
Alicia is the administrator. What is your official title?
Executive Director.
Executive Director of Brookdale at Johnson Beach, which has had several names. It's the beautiful place up on the hill on Indian River Drive.
Right across from Indian Riverside Park.
Right across from the park, yes. And it's a lovely facility up there. I mean, you guys confused me because you had, before you got there, all the administrative offices were to the north side of the building. Then they moved them to the south side of the building. And many times I drove up to the north side and, oh, look at all this nice parking spaces. And then had to walk 5 miles through the building to come down to the other. Now I've learned to go the other way.
You're not the only one that was confused. I actually was there 10 years ago, and this has been a homecoming for me. And when I was there before, the building was reversed, and I came in and I thought, where am I? Where's my office?
That's right, because you did a senior networking breakfast
I
for
did.
us. Right out in
I
that beautiful
did.
courtyard.
We did. We did.
And you're doing one again, I think.
We are.
I don't know what the arrangement is now that you've gone from 3 Brookdales to 2 Brookdales.
Right.
But we'll
right.
work that out. We'll work that out. Not a problem.
It's a plan.
It's a plan. We're going to be in that plan. Alicia has had some wonderful experiences in healthcare.
22 years.
Worked as an executive director of an independent living.
Correct.
I told you, but my wife's grandmother was one of the first residents in Ocean Palms.
You would be surprised how many people in this local community have passed through, or a loved one had passed through there. And it gave me an opportunity to learn lots of stories about lots of folks.
And she was 100 years old. She had her 100th birthday there.
Oh, my goodness.
And the
That's
family
amazing.
flew down, and she used to watch Johnny Carson every night. She was sharp with the news, a little bit radical. Her husband was a colonel, so she was hawkish.
Probably kept her going for those 100 years.
In fact, you know, when somebody said something about, you don't get people to come out of their rooms because they don't want to do silly things, like in assisted living or whatever.
Right.
She was in Delray Beach for 35 years with her husband. He passed away.
Wow.
The family moved her up to Western New York, where they were. There was a facility community there. She was the oldest one in there. She was like 90-something.
It's an honor.
And I called her one night, and I said, how you doing? These people here, they act so stupid and so young. You know what I mean? So old. They don't. I said, what? She said, they want me to go to bingo. And
Every day.
I said, well, what's wrong? She said, well, you go to bingo, they give you a card, they give you some beans, and you put them on the numbers, and you win a can of corn. She said, I don't have time for that. That's during my watching Dallas.
There you go.
But
Priorities,
But
Pat.
you never said to her, how are you? Because she told you. My leg is still hurting, my vision, and you never said, how are you, Graham? Just, are you having a good time, Graham? I was playing
Great
bingo.
to see you.
That's right.
Great to see you.
And she was smoking and drinking at age 100.
Kept her going
She'd-
all those years.
We'd go out to dinner, and she would say, oh, my stomach's acting up. I don't know what I'm going to order. So she'd order a whiskey sour, and then the waiter would come down and she'd say, I'll have the lobster. Her stomach was acting up. Yep. She was 102 years old when she passed away. My mother-in-law
I can't imagine
my
what
mother-in-law
she
is
saw.
92. Her
It's
mother,
amazing.
her grandmother's mother lived to be 105.
I have never known anyone that was 105. 102, we have a couple of folks right now that are 102 that are out and about, walking all around completely independently, and it amazes me every single day, the quality of their life at 102 years old.
You just hit the nail on the head. It's quality of life. If I'm going to be somewhat limited physically, okay, as I'm getting there, little by little,
We all are.
as long as I have my cognitive sense, as long as I can do some things that I consider fun or exciting, that's what I want to live. I don't want to live if I'm in a semi-comatose state. I will not be hooked up to a respirator. I will have no heroic means to keep me alive. Because to me, when that time comes, I want naturally to pass.
I think a lot of us that have worked in this field share that same hope and prayer for ourselves.
Well, we see that every day. And
Every day.
You see somebody who's riddled with cancer, and they have cancer all over their body and in their brain, and they're just a mess, and they're on heavy medication for pain and stuff. And I pray that they pass away, because at that point they have to be relieved. And when they get relieved, of course, it's a trauma to all the family and friends and everything, but it's a relief to them.
It is.
We have to be comforted in the fact that we know that they are no longer like your brother.
We do.
You're
we
no longer
find
in
comfort
pain.
knowing that pain is gone.
But if we have any beliefs that we believe in, this is only a short-term visit.
It's true, and we do believe that they're in a better place now with whomever they deem to be their higher power, and I share that belief that they will be reunited with their loved ones and their pets
and with you.
And yes,
that's right.
Yes. I know I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I went to a funeral a couple of years ago, and I hate doing this. They brought the casket in the church and all that stuff. Anyway, a young priest got up and gave us a little homily. And I thought, oh, boy, here we go. Probably pulled that out of the book. He said, let me tell you something. He said, let me tell you about the difference between heaven and earth. He said, it's like being in a womb, being born. And that's your world. You have this little tiny world. There's liquid and warmth and darkness. That's all you know. All of a sudden, you are born. And you're born into a world you never imagined existed. That's called earth. That's the difference between heaven and earth and heaven. So you're going to be born again into something you have no idea how magnificent it is. And when you're in that womb, you would never believe that you could come out into something like this. And I like that analogy.
That's an amazing picture to paint for us. Amazing picture to paint. And again, something to look forward to.
Okay, let's dig a little bit into Alicia's background. This is fun because you have such a varied background.
I've spent really my entire adult life working with older adults, and it's something that I have enjoyed every single day of my career. And I started off working with folks in the regulatory side of the industry, and I learned a lot about how we get services to people that are in need at home. I worked with the Area Agency on Aging for several years and transitioned up to our local area. And for 8 years, I did the grant writing to make sure that our residents in Martin County had what they needed to stay safely at home as long as they were able to be there and maintain their quality of life at home.
What company were you working for at the time?
Well, I was with the Council on Aging of Martin County that we know now as the Kane Center.
Thank you. Okay, yes, very good, very good.
And from there, I transitioned into senior living. And I started at Emeritus, which is now Brookdale, Jensen Beach, and have spent the last 10 years working with folks that are in senior living communities. And it was a realization for me, having spent the first part of my career working to keep folks at home and not really having the ability to see firsthand the benefit of bringing folks into a community like ours where they have the support of an entire family, a newfound family, where they're not isolated. They have 3 meals a day. They have the care and the love and support from the other residents and the staff that many of them were lacking at home by themselves. So I've really enjoyed the last 10 years getting to see those folks and be a part of their lives every day.
Now you're in a community that offers independent living.
We have folks that do come in
Okay.
independent,
And then
and they're able to transition into an assisted living situation where we can provide as little or as much care
Correct.
as they need. And then if they progress to a place where they need a protective environment, we also have memory care. And it's a 147 apartment community. So it's pretty large,
size.
and we're really able to accommodate the needs, the varying needs of our residents.
and it sits up on the hill. There's a beautiful pool there
It's gorgeous.
that isn't used enough.
It's gorgeous. Well,
Got to encourage more people to get in the water.
We're actually so excited. Our activities director that's returned to us is in the process right now of getting certified to do water aerobics. So we're counting the days.
Excellent. Very good. She's something else,
Which
isn't she?
she's amazing.
Wow.
She's amazing. She also has been doing what she's doing for 20 years in the industry, and she just comes to us with a plethora of knowledge and wisdom, which is a good thing, because one of the things that Pat and I were talking about yesterday was the shift that we need to see with how we approach resident programming and life enrichment for our older people. And I think that it's time. It's time.
And we may have a plan.
We
may
have a plan.
Yes, we have a plan.
And I'm really excited to be able to start implementing that plan and really looking at how we can better enrich the lives of our residents.
Okay, we're going to stop right now and take a break. We do that at 20 after. And Michael, if we can get some music going and tell about our sponsors.
back to the forum with your host, Pat Sacco.
Thank you, Mike. We are here again with Alicia Dykeman, who's the Executive Director of Brookdale at Johnson Beach, up on the hill.
Good morning again.
You were talking about doing some things that are a little bit outside the box. We still use that expression, don't we? 'Cause
I know
think we
I
need
do
to
every
that.
day.
Yes, thank you.
Every day. I had the opportunity to go to a wonderful training this week, and I was really excited with what I learned. Brookdale as a company is recognizing the fact that we need to be looking at how we approach resident activities and programming for our seniors, just like our residents would approach their daily life at home. It needs to be a natural transition because our community is their home now, and we need to honor that. And, you know, what we're finally acknowledging and understanding is how many of us spend our day at home in a group activity for 6 hours doing bingo or doing a craft or playing noodle ball with a balloon. I don't know anyone that played noodle ball at home, let alone with the same people all day, every day. How many of our residents spent their time volunteering? They were professional artists. They traveled the world. They had exciting, successful careers. And we're not honoring those individual experiences of our residents.
I have one great activity. I saw this work at another place. They bought a 500-piece puzzle and did the edges, did the 4 edges, and left the pieces and everything on the table. And anybody could walk over there and do it. And there was not a line, but there were regular people that came and spent 5 or 10 or 20 minutes working on a couple of pieces. And eventually that puzzle got put together. It was just there.
It's
Anybody
an
want to have
amazing
another shot
idea.
at it kind of thing. It was neat.
Now, we have several residents that are always working on a puzzle every day, and they encourage not only their fellow residents, but anybody that is coming through as a visitor to our community. They approach them and say, you know, we expect at least 3 or 4 pieces to that puzzle before you head out today.
Very good, very good.
So it's another way to engage everybody.
See, she uses that word. You use that word so many times yesterday, and that's my whole thing is to engage, to engage, to engage.
It's critical.
Especially when you have some cognitive deficits.
Absolutely.
The engaging is even more important.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily have to be cognitive, because it could be someone who just doesn't want to go down to that model of today it's noodled, and then there's bingo, and then there's this, and then I don't want to leave my room.
Well, and if this is someone that has not been a social butterfly, to expect them at 92 to become that social butterfly and that joiner is just unrealistic. So what can we do to meet that person where they are and, again, engage them, keep them stimulated, show them that we're interested in who they are as a person? And Pat and I talked a little bit about that.
I have an idea.
He has a wonderful
Why don't we
idea.
take it to them?
Absolutely.
My expression is, Muhammad won't go to the mountain. Let's have the mountain come to Muhammad. You see, and again, we have to educate the children of these people, because they say, I want my mom in activities. Well, mom doesn't want to go activities. I don't care what mom wants. She's going to go in activities. No, she's not. But if we say to them, mom doesn't come out of her room to activities, but we take activities to mom.
Absolutely. I think it paints a much more realistic picture, especially when you can come back to how that adult child or that family member described their loved one to you. Well, mom loved to stay in her room and read. She was always a big reader. Dad was always the more outgoing social one of the couple, and mom was never, but she loved her book club. And mom and dad traveled the world for years and years, and they saw every country, or they saw every state in the United States, and mom really enjoyed sharing that with us and going through the pictures.
Right.
Those are opportunities for our team to go in and spend 5, 6, 10 minutes with that resident.
Exactly.
And one of the
Without
things,
noodles.
Without noodle ball. Without noodle ball. It's a noodle ball free program.
You can put that up on the big
Yes.
sign. We are a noodle ball
We are
free
a noodle ball free
environment.
community. But one of the things that Pat and I also talked about is, just like in life, our everyday life and our jobs, we connect with people right away. There are certain people that you meet and you immediately just connect with. You have that comfort level. And to be able to have each of our team members take that opportunity to spend that time with the residents that they connected with, and really bring more meaning to that resident. And it's not just the resident, our team who spends their entire life really making the lives better for our residents. They benefit from that also. They get that sense of fulfillment. And sometimes, when you're engaged in the daily grind, it's easy to forget sometimes why we're doing what we do. And then we have a moment with one of our residents, and you walk away with such a feeling of warmth and really overwhelming love. And you say, oh, yeah, that's why I do this every day. So that's such a great opportunity.
Well, everything to me boils down to marketing, right? We do external marketing. You may do advertisements. A company sends out things. You may be involved with our agency as marketing.
Correct. Correct.
But internal marketing is just as important as external marketing. I have to make my staff feel good. I have to have them have a positive attitude and a positive image, because if they don't, that really corrodes.
It trickles down.
Yes, it corrodes
trickles
us.
down.
And,
That's right.
And it influences other people.
Absolutely.
We market our residents and our people all the time. We market the families. When we say, gee, Mom is doing well, we're really enjoying her, she seems to be happier, we're marketing that to the family. We have to be careful also to be able to describe what we do and why we do. Okay, we have a lovely building, number one. We have a great dining program, number two. We have the bus transportation, number three. We do activities in the room if they don't want to come out, is number four. Now, how many people out there, how many agencies have a number four?
None that I know of at this time.
Well, we're going to make
None.
sure a lot of them do, because
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
And again, you can't fault the traditional activity thing. You have one person who's dealing with 20, 30, 40, 50 people, and it's difficult. And you've got to come up with a calendar, a monthly calendar of things 4 or 5 hours a day. It's tough. I did some work at Emerald or Linmore with activities and helped them do that, and it's not an easy job. Okay?
No, people don't recognize just how difficult a job that is.
Do you have a women's group?
We
Women's
do.
club. Do you have a
We
men's
do.
club?
We do.
What do the men's do? What do the men's do? What do the men's club do?
Well, once in a while they go out. We need to meet them where their interests are. Woodworking. We really have a strong veterans club where we still have those folks that connect on a level that I think people that didn't live through that generation can't even begin to comprehend. And it's something that we recognize and we honor, but we absolutely can't even begin to understand that connection.
What about a pizza and libation group?
Well, I think a lot of these guys would much rather do that over a game of poker.
Oh, I think so, yes. And libation meaning whatever they want to drink.
Absolutely.
Go out with the bus, go to a nice little pizzeria, make sure to get, your contact. Here comes
Pitcher of beer.
That's right. Let's get some beer and pizza. How about a cooking class?
We do. We have a cooking class a couple of days a month, and I have to tell you, it's one of the most attended and loved activities because our dining service director, she really goes all out. And I have to say, I'm a little hesitant to say, but the last time she made fried Oreos, and the line was just outrageous to the point where the residents were poking their heads into the kitchen saying, are there any more of those fried Oreos for dessert? So she ended up making another 148 fried Oreos for dessert. So that's something that a lot of our folks, they miss that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that was
right.
a huge part
yeah,
of their
yeah.
lives. So that's something that they really enjoy.
See, those, and are those marketing points? Of course they are.
It's important.
Mom doesn't come
it's
here
important.
and just sit in there with the noodles all day long and
Nope.
goes here and there and the same thing. We have all these special things because we're catering them to their former needs and their former enjoyments.
Absolutely.
And to me, again, that's, I don't mean to be crude marketing, but that's what it boils down to. We sell ourselves all the time in recruiting people to come to live. We sell ourselves in maintaining them there. We sell ourselves with the families. It isn't just moms living there.
Well, and if we think about it, it's not inexpensive to live in many of these communities because we provide a full array of life supporting services and amenities. Our goal, obviously, for every one of our residents is to maintain their independence as long as possible, and again, that quality of life. So it's very important for us as a community to be able to explain to a potential resident and their family, what are we going to do to make sure that person's needs are being met?
Exactly.
You know, their spiritual needs, their cognitive needs, their physical needs. And I think as we see the baby boomers aging, we're recognizing now that the expectations are changing.
Mm-hmm.
We're really going to have to shift the way we look at how we're doing things because those expectations are changing.
We have to change that traditional model.
Absolutely. And I'm
And,
excited that we're recognizing that. And it's starting to happen.
See, and I think you agree with me. You've been in healthcare long enough to know that the only constant in healthcare is change.
Thank goodness for that.
And
Thank goodness
and
for
it's-
that.
Yes. Oh, why
We
are
live and we
doing
grow.
This, but there was tradition. We did it that way. And let me tell you a cute little story about tradition. Man is watching his wife prepare ham, and she cuts the ends off the ham before she puts it in the pan. And he says, "Why'd you cut the ends off?" He says, "My mother did." So he went to his mother-in-law and said, "Why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the pan?" She said, "Because my mother did." So he goes to the grandmother and says, "Why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the pan?" The grandmother looked at him and said, "So it'll fit in the pan."
Wow.
Sometimes we take tradition.
Wow.
We don't know why we're doing it, and we're doing it the same way, but maybe for completely different reasons. And tradition is something that's not written down. It's passed by word of mouth.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
so,
right.
So people alter it all the way down the line. Like putting an egg in meatloaf. Well, there's a particular Italian
Guilty.
group of people put egg in the meat. Why? Why do you do
Because
that?
my grandmother, my Italian grandmother,
That's why.
always put egg in
Egg
the
in the
meatloaf.
meatloaf.
So I
What-
put egg
what-
in my meatloaf.
What benefits of the meatloaf with an egg in it?
It was
I don't-
good.
But
That's how we did
and
it.
it draws the memory of grandma.
It does. It makes
See, mine
me
is
feel
bacon
good.
on top of the meatloaf. Strips of bacon, because then the flavor of the bacon drips into the meat. Anyway, well, when we make meatloaf, we make two different meatloafs. Because my wife likes the traditional meatloaf with the tomato sauce on top.
That's mine.
Kind of thing.
Yes, me
I like
too.
it with the bacon. And so we take two pans and we bake our bacon or our meatloaf, so we have different meatloafs.
And see, that's what we're talking about. We need to make sure that everybody has the meatloaf that they want and that they like.
Exactly.
Not just this is the only meatloaf you can have because this is how we've always made it.
And you go to a place where suddenly they're serving your meatloaf, and you look and say, "Where's the egg?"
Exactly.
You know?
There's no sauce on this. No sauce on this. Something's wrong with my meatloaf.
We have gravy. That's not sauce. Gravy.
Exactly.
I don't know how gravy could be red. You want more gravy on that? On the spaghetti? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yes. The Italian gravy.
But
that's
you get
right.
those. Yeah, and that's tradition.
It's
but
tradition.
Yeah,
And there is
we have
comfort
to
in
maintain
tradition.
some of those things that are neat.
Yes,
and
there
we
is
pass those
comfort
along.
in tradition. And some of those things we bring along because it does provide that comfort. And it provides that heritage, that sense of who we are and who we came from. But I think it's wonderful also to be able to share in other people's tradition and learn about different ways that things are done out in the world. Again, it enriches our experience and our understanding of what everyone is able to bring to the table. And I think that is so important, especially when working with older people. And it's just something that it never ceases to amaze me how people dismiss older adults as not being considered important enough to ask them for their opinion. What do you want? How would you like to see this? What do you want to see happen here? What's important to you? Because they just assume that I know what's best for this person. All older people are. They all go to bed at 7:00 at night.
And
they
go to
all
early bird.
they all get
That's
away.
right.
Wake up at 4 in the morning.
Right.
Everybody's over for the early bird special, and nobody thinks about that resident that has stayed up until 1:00 in the morning. They're night owls their whole life. They've read a book until midnight or 1:00, and they don't get up until lunchtime.
Right.
We need to honor that.
Exactly. In our society, older people tend to become invisible.
Absolutely, and it's heartbreaking.
And you see a person, you could see through them because they're not really there.
We don't take the time to stop and see them and acknowledge them like you would a younger adult. We don't show them that respect that they deserve, and in doing that, we miss out on so much.
I was reading something recently about hallucinations with Alzheimer's and Parkinson patients, and they are real to them.
Absolutely,
They're
are.
seeing something.
Yes.
And they're saying, I see my father. Their father's dead. Well, you don't say that, but he's not here. Oh, he's right there. I can see him. And they get that visual that it's real strong for them. And we have to learn to accept that. When I was an ombudsman, we did training for new ombudsmans. And it was mandated a one-day thing. We did a 3-day because we really wanted to get into digging about it.
Right.
And the last thing they had to do was answer this question. How would you deal with this situation? In a nursing home, you walk into a room because somebody made a complaint. A guy made a complaint that a person with a green jacket would come in and stand in his room at 11 o'clock every night. And nobody would do anything about it. So you go in and investigate, and you check everything. No, there's never been a guy with a green jacket. So you go in the room, you say, sir, there hasn't been anybody. And he gives you these expletives that burn you right out of the room. Now you got to go in and repair the damage. So what do you do? And that was the task we gave. And they all kinds of errors gave answers. One lady nailed it. She went in and she said, sir, I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I told you there wasn't a man. There is a man. And he comes in every night with his green jacket and stands at the foot of your bed at 11 o'clock. And he's an angel. And he comes to see if you're ready to go to heaven. And he realizes you're still alive, so he quietly leaves. And he'll keep coming until the time that he'll pick you up and take you up there.
I love that, and how comforting for him. How absolutely he's acknowledged, he's validated, and he's given peace.
Go right
given
into their
peace.
world, right into their
We
world.
have to live in their moment.
Tone it down.
Live in their moment.
How many times do you get a person who comes down to the desk and is complaining, I was supposed to be picked up for my trip, No, honey, that's tomorrow. No, it's today. I know because I wrote it down today. We have the card from the doctor, and it is tomorrow. And then there's an argument going, why wouldn't I say, I'm glad you came down today to check it out. And it's a good thing you did. So you won't have to wait now because you can relax now. It's not until tomorrow. If we took a stance like that with them, they would calm down rather than say, no, listen, you're wrong. It's tomorrow. It's not today. Again, we're suing.
All in the
suing an
approach.
argument. Absolutely.
Same
absolutely.
delivery, different approach, and received completely differently.
How am I marketing that patient? How am I satisfying their need? Exactly.
Absolutely. And that comes back to training the staff, training the team to live in the moment with that person. How do we respond to that person? And again, this is opportunity that we have as an industry to reach out to the resources like Pat. When you have someone with this wealth of knowledge that's willing to come in and help your team to grow as professionals and to expand their knowledge base, it makes our residents' lives every day better, and it also makes their lives better, easier, more pleasant, and it really enriches the community that we're all a part of.
True. And, it's a tall order. But, by the way, training to me, staff training is like mowing your lawn. It's kind of a mess. You mow your lawn, it looks great. A couple weeks later, it's a mess again. You got to mow it again. And you have to have constant training of your staff. Oh, we talked about that before, and we're going to talk about it again.
It's critical.
Because what happens is they're in a mode of behavior, which is a good one, and you put them in an excellent mode of behavior. Well, they'll stay in that excellent mode of behavior and slowly migrate back to their regular mode of behavior. And so you have to kickstart them again.
Yeah,
and
I definitely
that's
agree
human
with
nature,
that.
And,
the other thing I've learned over the past 20 plus years is that every day is a new day. And my gosh, there's a new opportunity to learn something every single day. No day is alike. And just when you thought you had experienced every possible scenario, there's something new that we deal with. Every day is a learning opportunity.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but right after I finished working at Indiana University, went to Kalamazoo, Michigan. There was a hearing center, and they hired me to develop a speech and language program for them. Well, I was only there a couple months, and there was a seminar in Notre Dame, which is not far from Kalamazoo, and it was our National Association president, who was an MD and speech pathologist, and was working with autistic children in Texas.
Okay.
And boy, man, because we had some autistic kids. I wanted to get some information. So I went to this seminar. She was wonderful. But she started off the seminar by saying, I'm looking forward to being old and living in a nursing home. And everybody's kind of looking there, frowning in their faces. She said, let me explain why. She said, you wake up in the morning, they wheel you down to the solarium. You hear all these wonderful stories that these people have. You go through the day, you go to bed, you forgot the stories, you wake up the next morning, they wheel you down to the solarium, all these brand new stories just a day after day.
All new every day.
All new every day. And later on I found out that was true.
Every day.
I'm not sure I want to do that same pattern, but it was so cute the way she put this. Here's a national figure talking about that. But again, getting back to the hallucination kind of thing, we have to be very careful of that because that promotes the Baker Act.
It does
late
if
at
it's
night, I'm seeing
mishandled.
something. Come on, I'm going to grab you by the arm. Come on, let's get you back to bed. And that's when the fight ensues.
Right. It's critical that we have a good understanding of how we need to be approaching these folks. And we see folks in memory care that still believe their husband is alive, that's been passed for 15 years. Their parents, they're looking for their parents. And the last thing you want to do is have them on a daily basis relive the loss of that parent that's been gone for 30 years. We have to live with them in the moment, and we have to meet them where they are in their journey.
In your memory care unit, you have a board. You have the day, the date, and the year.
Not anymore.
You took the year off?
Not anymore.
Thank you.
When I first got into to this industry, I remember it was reality reorientation. And it was, no, today is the 24th of May and the year is 2018. No, this is 1947 and my child is 6 years old. And I'm so happy to see that we recognized that we need to take a different approach. And now there is no push to try to bring people into our reality.
Exactly.
They
We're going to
recognize the
theirs.
importance. We need to be where they are. We need to meet them where they are in their journey. And again, it just makes such a huge difference in their quality of life.
You have a yellow pen and you say to this person, "What is it?" And they say it's a banana. My response is, "Isn't that a pretty color yellow?"
And don't you love bananas?
Yeah,
Bananas are one of my
Where
favorite
do
fruits.
you put bananas in
Right.
cereal or there?
Right.
And then it kind of just faded away.
Yeah.
But I can't argue with anybody who's doing that kind of thing. One of the problems we have, there were so many opportunities out there yet to encounter. We need to train children to be caregivers. Many times grandma lives with them. And this is a scenario I use. A little 10-year-old comes home from school and says, "Mommy, I want to go out and play." And she says, "Well, watch, Grandma, I have to go to the store." And 5 minutes later, Grandma's getting her coat on to go down to the bus station to get her children. Now, what does the little kid do? Grab Grandma's leg? She says, "No, Grandma. Where did Mommy go? Mommy left, didn't she? She went down to get the children. You don't have to go. She's going to bring them home for you." And Grandma takes her coat off and forgets 2 minutes later. But we need to train those kids how to take care of situations like that. Because sometimes a 10 or 11-year-old child is a better caregiver than their parents. I've seen that happen.
I agree with what you say, and I think it's important to recognize. I know my own son spent some time with his grandmother, his paternal grandmother, and she had Alzheimer's. And if he had had more education, I think it would have been a smoother experience for him rather than what he remembers now, because they didn't recognize
We need
that.
a unit in the schools
We
in
do.
the health classes, and we're going
We
to work on
do.
that for Martin and St. Lucie counties. At least get that started.
What a
Right.
wonderful idea.
Okay, we're wrapping up already. We just got started in this thing.
Time flies.
Well, hey, we'll
Flies
have you come
by when
back
you're
later
talking
again.
about what you love.
When you want to escape from the building for an hour. Alicia, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy talking with you. It's such a great opportunity. So come by, visit us at Brookdale Jensen Beach. We would love to have you come for a visit.
How about a phone number, slowly?
Our phone number is 772-225-1355.
I memorized that, yes. Okay, well, again, thank you very much for being here. We've got a neat couple who are going to be here next week with a lab concept of blood draw people.
Oh, okay.
And you won't believe what they're going to do.
They're going to draw blood?
Yeah, on you, Mike. Get ready.
Oh, boy. All right.
No alcohol for 24 hours.
Man.
Okay, and again, next week we got another great program on the forum. Thank you.